Meeting to order. Do we have a roll call, please?
Scott Tompkins,
John Brandt Hoover.
John Sweiser.
Don
Ruth
Mott.
Gonzalez.
Bob Anderson.
Gail, you want to turn your mic on?
Gail Roberts here, finally. Sorry.
No worries.
Hey, John.
Can we have the approval of the minutes for November 10th, please?
I'll move that we approve the minutes as posted.
I actually have a comment. On the minutes, that page, of course, I can't find. I just wanted to make sure that where it said that the police station, fire department was going to rent the land, that the 12 months versus building permit issuance or certificate of occupancy, whichever came first for the 12 months. Because the way it's worded in the minutes, it looks like, again, we talked about this last time, that that it isn't an if or and, that it's a, and it
Either
needs
or.
to be in either or, yeah.
Okay. We can get that corrected if that's how the minutes are reading.
Any other comments? Can I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All those opposed?
Aye. Sorry.
Motion carries. No public comment, so we move on to new business. Dave?
Okay, item A on the agenda is Arlington Advanced Manufacturing Park. Historically, they've leased that south section of parking lot along the east hangars on 59th for their employees. We terminated that lease back in, I think it was June, as they had lost a tenant or two over there. They've come back and asked to lease a portion of that back, half of that parking lot back for a new company that'll be located there. As I mentioned, I don't have all the pages for the agenda as I left those at work, but they've been a great tenant. Staff recommends approval on this. It's a basic lease at the industrial rate for the square footage there.
Dave, I'd like to pass a comment on that, please.
Yes, go ahead.
It's purely a typo probably, but the address on in item A, page 4, states that it's on 59th Street. And I'm assuming it meant Avenue.
59th Drive is kind of the service road just west of 59th Avenue. And it's where 59th Drive terminates. So it's actually between 59th Avenue and that would be 59th Drive there. So
No, I'm talking about it's called street, David.
let me see. Well, I
The item
don't.
says street. It's only a nit, but it has to be something else. 59th Street is probably down in Marysville somewhere.
I don't know. I'm not seeing it on my.
Dave,
On page 4,
Dave, city attorney here. I don't know if we're referring to the language of the cab or the language of the lease document itself.
if you look at page 4 of the packet, item A, the address is given as 59th Street. Well, there is no 59th Street anywhere.
Yeah, I got it now. I've got it now.
Can you see it? I think it's just a typo, that's all.
Yeah. Uh-oh. There we go. Yeah, we can correct that. 59th Drive
That's all it was.
or 59th Avenue. All righty. Any
So
other? Any other questions?
I have a question. So is there some way that they're going to differentiate which part of the parking lot they're going to be using so that they're not using more than what the lease is for or taking away from somebody else? Is there a way to define that?
It
Yeah.
should be in that exhibit where it shows that southern portion of that lot 21.
Okay, so, but I mean, physically, when you're out in the parking lot, are these people going to know where they're supposed to be using, or do we define how many spaces, how many cars are they
No.
actually?
We defined it by square footage
Okay,
in the lease. So, we can just kind of keep an eye on it. If it starts growing, we can talk to them.
also might want to check with community development and make sure that they're leasing enough land to accommodate the number of parking spaces that they need for the businesses that are coming in. Everybody has a different requirement depending on what the use is for the tenant, and want to make sure that, they're
Yeah.
enough one way or not too many one way or the other.
Dave,
Gotcha.
we know what businesses are coming in.
It's, to be honest, it's a sublease for AMP. There some folks taking over it was Outback Power, I believe, before, is the one that fronts 59th Avenue there. But I don't know the name of the company right off the top of my head.
Okay.
And you need a motion?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the new lease with Arlington Advanced Manufacturing Park for 1/2 of lot 21, pending final review by the city attorney.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, agenda item B is a lease extension request for Mountain High, also known or formerly known as 19417 63rd Avenue. This is a marijuana growing facility located in the Airport Industrial Park. They do have a signed acknowledgement of use outlining provisions for operating on federally obligated property. Basically says if the federal government ever says that's not acceptable, then they realize that the lease is null and void. They've been leasing the property since 2014. Their current lease expires in 2024, and they're requesting a 10-year extension in exchange for approximately $103,000 improvements to the building. They have been a good tenant, always paid on time, work well with airport staff, and staff recommends approval upon completion of those improvements. And Drew Davis is, you're one of the principals, correct, in this company, Drew?
I'm of counsel.
Okay, the legal counsel.
So I'm his attorney for everything he's involved in.
Okay, very good. I'm happy to answer any questions any of the commissioners may have.
Absolutely.
Do we
I have a question regarding the acknowledgement of use. Is that something, I didn't find that in any of the municipal codes for Arlington. Is that something that is FAA or is that a federal document?
That is a document that city council or the city attorney crafted for any of these type of uses on federal property. Steve, you want to talk about that a minute?
Yeah, the reason for this acknowledgement was that the federal government continues to indicate that marijuana is a Schedule I substance, and so we wanted to make it clear to any tenants that might be involved in marijuana processing that that's a permissible use under state law. There's an open question about whether it's permissible under federal law, and so we just wanted them to acknowledge the fact that if the federal government, via the FAA in particular, directed the city to stop that kind of activity on airport property, that the city of Arlington might be powerless to prevent that. So we wanted them to acknowledge that prior to entering into the lease agreement.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was looking for it, did not find it anywhere, so I thought I'd best ask the question. It's the first time I'd seen that. Thank
It's a
you.
part of their lease. It's part of their original lease agreement.
Okay.
I have a couple questions. So, in the outline of the items that are going to total this 103,000, it appears that about 30,000 of that work has already been done. And that goes back to, do we allow credit for something that was done without permission to do it? They're asking after the fact. I don't think that is appropriate. And the other thing is the majority of the items that they have already done are specific to the marijuana industry and being able to be licensed to have a license. Other than the tree removal and the roof, I feel that the other items should not be included because those are specific to the industry and were done ahead of time. At least
Ruth,
that's what it looks like
let
on
me
this.
Can I
answer
speak
that.
to one?
Let me jump in there for just a second. I did not include any of the, like the immersion heater and some of those other things. Again, I don't have all the paperwork with me. I did not include any of those. I included only those items like the roof, the doors, the overhead doors, securing grates and things like that. I did not include any of the marijuana specific items. If you total all those up, it's a lot more than 103,000.
Okay. Well, so did you include the generator and the solid steel security doors, the rolling cage security doors, and the full security system in that 103?
I believe so.
Okay, I take exception to those items because those are more specific to the nature of the industry, and they were also done and then requested to get credit for them. And I struggle with people doing things and then wanting to get reimbursed for it after the fact. That's not how you deal with a rented property. It's not appropriate.
Can I speak to that, Mr. Ryan? I know I'm not on public comment. Would that be okay?
Yeah, you can, because this is the topic.
So the rolling doors and the security door and the security system were all installed after we were robbed on 6 different occasions. It was an emergency issue. None of them are required by the LCB. They all go far above and beyond what's required for the Liquor Control Board. And it was a kind of a time is of the essence situation. We had someone saw through the building itself and actually crawl in and steal a substantial amount of product from us. We worked with the police department. They recommended that we get a security system that wrapped around the building that was sensitive to sound and to do these things. And we have not been robbed since we installed them. I understand that that's something that we could have asked permission for, but it didn't require a permit. And the building itself is actually owned by the company, not we're just asking about the land underneath.
Well, if the building's owned by the company, then these are improvements to your building. And I, again, don't think that credit for additional lease time is warranted on those items. My opinion.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions? I will say that these kinds of things, whether it's a marijuana facility or anything else, we have considered them as improvements to the building in the past. And what we look at is if the lease were to either expire or they were to break the lease or something, we gain these improvements. It makes it a better building. It makes it more valuable to us. So those were items that had to be done on kind of an emergency basis, but the others have not, the most expensive one being the roof.
And I have a question. Really, the only thing we're doing is extending the lease. I mean, they're still going to pay for the improvements themselves,
Absolutely.
and they'll still pay for the lease for 10 more years. Is that correct?
It increases the ground lease for 10 years.
Okay, but I mean, it's not like we're out any additional money for those
No.
10 years, correct? We still make money on it, okay?
Yes.
And really, to keep them in business there, they almost had to make the improvements, did they not? From the point of view, they can't continue having the break-ins and remain in business, for example. So it seems to me that we're really not losing anything, and we have we'll be able to retain a tenant who has just taken additional steps to remain in business.
That is correct. And that employs quite a few people at a decent wage.
I'd like to make a motion if that's appropriate.
If there's no more comment, yes, please.
I just one more comment real quick. I actually appreciate Ruth's comments though, and it definitely brings another perspective to it. But I just wanted to throw my 2 cents in too. But Ruth, thank you very much. I do appreciate you bringing those points up.
I agree.
Thank you. Again, it's something I just think that we really need to be careful of so that we don't set precedents. And it's nothing specific to this particular tenant, but just in general, we can't set a precedent that lets people do things without getting approval and then expecting to get credit for it. That caused some problems in the past, and I just don't want to see that happen again.
And that's something we do try to avoid anytime we can. And, you know, we will sometimes say, okay, well, we'll take it into consideration, but we can't really count it towards the total.
But the other incidences we had were not on an emergency aspect as this one was to keep people from breaking in either. I mean, I agree with Ruth, but this was kind of an emergency move.
And they did literally cut a hole in the side of the building. I mean, right through the metal siding, studs, and everything else to gain access to this building.
I have photos if anybody wants them. It was a whole ordeal, and we lost about $60,000.
So Dave, I have one last question then. When it's stated here that this is approximately $103,000 in improvements, then is that some figure that comes off of the yearly lease
No.
rate from the land, or?
No, that is strictly the amount of money that they are putting into their building.
Okay.
The lease rate remains the same. They're just asking for a few additional years for that investment.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Okay, John, would you do that again, please?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. I move to approve the lease extension to Mountain High, otherwise 19417 63rd, pending completion and documentation of those improvements and final review by the city attorney.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Drew.
Have a great night.
Do we have anything from the council?
Yes, I do have one thing I would like to bring up. Last night at our city council meeting, the Commercial Aviation Coordinating Commission, chaired by the WashDOT Aviation, and they've been doing a study on airports, just like PSRC has done, and I know you guys have seen that. I really would encourage you to go on to our website where you can click on something that says listen to the meetings. It was the very first item before we even started the agenda, so you don't have to watch the whole meeting or anything. But I really think since Arlington was definitely one of the airports, that it would be beneficial if you guys listened and heard what they had to say.
That was actually David Fleckenstein, who's director of WashDOT Aviation for the state of Washington. It was about a 10-minute presentation. I also have access to that link. If any of the commissioners would like it, just let me know, and I'll send it out to you. It was good and informative, and really talked about Arlington as being a kind of more of a general aviation reliever than as for any kind of real passenger or cargo.
Yeah.
Why don't
Yeah,
you
we
send
should
that
send
out
that-
to everybody, Dave?
I'm sorry?
Why don't you send that out to everybody? I'd like to have a copy of it.
So would
Okay.
I.
Yep, that would be great.
Yeah, same here.
I just have one more thing, Don. Last night
Sure.
at council, we also passed the resolution to put the RFA, the Regional Fire Authority, on ballot for February. The one thing we did change, the discussion had been 82 cents per thousand. And after the committee had looked it over, we changed that to 75 cents, which means that 54% of the residents of Arlington property owners will pay either the same thing they're paying now, or a few of them will be even less. And that's why we dropped it from 82 to 75. And that's all I have.
Well done, Jen.
Thank you.
Okay,
Dave, do we have a construction update?
yeah, that will be Marty.
Yeah, just kind of an update here. We've reached virtual completion on this project. The only outstanding things we have left are to get the PAPIs approved. There's going to do FAA will do some flight checks on those. I think that's tentatively scheduled for the 16th of this month. Bravo's completed. Lights are up. They look great. And the PAPIs will be operational shortly after the flight checks are done. 1129 PAP. We will also have pilot control lighting will be operational around the 14th or 15th of this month as well. We're going to have some training, and they have to program. They have to come on site and actually program the new system. But it's all there, ready to go. We've seen it up and running. It's really nice. It's going to be quite a savings in money, if nothing else. PAPI 1129 PAPIs are still down. We expect to have those repaired by the middle of January. And that's about it. We're only thing we have left to do in springtime. We may do some more hydro seeding because we got it's kind of a late start and a lot of rain has washed some of the seed away. And then we've got some second coat of paint to do for lines on the Bravo taxiway and some of the lead-in stuff. But essentially, we're all done. The project went off virtually without a hitch. And it was a real successful project. Really pleased with the results. The contractors did an awesome job. We've worked with them in the past, and hopefully we'll be able to work with them in the future again too when we do 1634. But yeah, it looks great.
One thing I
And
would,
if you guys want to come out and take a look, we'd be happy to
that's what I was gonna say.
maybe come take you out and show you what all transpired out there. So give us a call, mask up, we'll take you out.
That's what I was going to say is if you're driving down 172nd in the dark, which is most of the time now, early morning or afternoon, take a look and you can see all the new runway lights and lights on Bravo, and they look fantastic. So might keep an eye out for those. And I believe Lorraine's going to talk about the construction budget and where we are and all those things.
Yes. Good evening, everyone.
Evening, Lorraine.
Good evening. So we're really pleased with the project results, as Marty said. We are in the process of receiving the final invoices. We will have 2 change orders during this project. One is already executed. Change order 1, we actually ended up saving money on the project with that change order, over $10,000 worth. Change order 2 is expected to come within the upcoming weeks. And that one is going to be $85,000 over what we had originally budgeted. So taking those 2, we're going to be $75,000 over the approved budget that we went into. Some of these things on change order 2 are just higher quantities that weren't anticipated, additional surveying work, additional conduit. So we're going to be just under $3.3 million. That's anticipated at the end of the project. Any questions?
All right, thank you, Lorraine. We were talking with our airport resource officer and also with the airport users group recently about getting some decals for airport users, numbered decals, like kind of like when you get an oil change or something and you get the little decal to put on your windshield. That would let officers know that that vehicle belongs at the airport at a quick glance, because a lot of people work on their airplanes at night or out here hanging around at night or whatever. And if the police could see that that vehicle has an Arlington sticker on it, it kind of takes some of the awkwardness out of asking them, you know, what they're doing. We ran it by the users group. They were good with it. It will be voluntary, not mandatory at all. But it does help the officers that are patrolling at night identify vehicles that do and don't belong at the airport.
Yeah, the Marinas use that, and that works real good.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
So, and I think that's all we have. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like you said, the marinas use them. My son manages a marina, and they have ones that actually hook on the rear view mirror so that they can move them if they come with a different car. So that's
Right.
just another option. Same thing. They're numbered, and it just has the name of the marina on it. So you could similar thing.
And I think that's all we have from staff at this time. Steve, you want to address the next item?
Yes, members of the commission, you can blame me for this one. I asked Dave to put an executive session on our agenda tonight, and now I'm asking that to be removed from the agenda. I know how exciting it must be to have the idea of a meeting with the city attorney. I know that council members Schweddy and Blythe will tell you what an exciting time those are. But I've concluded that there's a legal issue, frankly, about whether I should be giving you advice in the form of an executive session. And so I've opted to do that in a different way. I'll give you a briefing between now and your next meeting on what I was intending to do in an executive session. And that's just out of an abundance of caution on my part to try to protect the city's interests. Unfortunately, you won't have a special opportunity to spend time with me tonight. But I'm happy to talk to any of you at any time otherwise.
Well, it's been real nice talking to you, Steve.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Thank you, Steve. Staff would welcome any additional questions anyone has before we adjourn.
I'd just like to wish Merry Christmas to everybody.
Oh, indeed, yes.
Thank you.
Definitely.
And
I agree.
Lorraine, you're about 2.5 weeks from becoming a mom, right?
I am. Good memory. Thanks.
Is that your first one, Lori?
It is.
Ah,
So is it going to be a Christmas baby?
Due date's
Very
the
close.
27th. So
Okay.
97th. Wow. All the best to you, love.
thank you.
Thank you all, commissioners. I would ask that Paul, Michelle, and Jan stay with us after we adjourn the regular meeting to talk about our meeting tomorrow.
Okay.
Can I
Thank
have
you
a
all.
motion? Can we have a motion?
I'll move to adjourn.
I
Have a
second.
second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you, folks.
Okay.